which is super weird.
A little
Because
bit, yeah.
this is my theory, and I'm sorry for talking at you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Is that basically I got on the idea that low MMR can't handle pushing right now. So my idea is that I'll push a lane with a Necronomicon and then always be at every team fight. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the logic. It's just kind of like, you can do cheeky shit like that to try and climb, or you can actually just play good Dota.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, it's like,
well said. Yeah.
if I was to play your games, I wouldn't need to be going these builds that are specifically, so it's kind of like, you're setting yourself up for a crutch when you don't need one. Like, your leg didn't break, and then you got a crutch because you're lazy and you don't want to walk with 2 legs, you want 3. Because there's definitely, like, a way to get better, and you're just kind of, like, taking this shortcut that will work for the next however many MMR, 200, 500, 1,000, but then you're going to hit a point where that's not working anymore, and you started to climb based off of something that wasn't genuinely good.
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, the thing is, one of the things that I find really frustrating with the low MMR, there'll be a team fight, whatever, if it turns out good or bad for our side, if it turns out bad, it's super bad. Because what happens is, people go fight without pushing their lanes out first.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that you lose the team fight, and your lane's already pushing. They grab 2 towers off of you, and you literally can't catch up. There's like no way for that to happen. So
well, the thing with Night Stalker, the 2 heroes you were talking about getting a first pick hero. The 2 first picks that come to mind for me are Night Stalker and Clockwork, and both of them kind of have push potential. Like, Night Stalker probably has the best right click of any position 4.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I like him. What I do with him is that once I get a few kills, I actually tank a tower with Urn, and I have my Urn charges going, and I can totally take a tower just with 1 wave and me tanking the tower.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of the ones that can, like, actually directly do tower damage. And then Clockwork can pseudo do tower damage by rocket flaring like the other lanes, and then always keeping them pushed, which of course naturally will get tower damage. So it's kind of like you have one of the best position 4 heroes to push towers with on your own, and then you're on top of that doing cheeky shit like getting a Vlad's to help you push more.
Can I tell you one thing? It just Vlad solves all my healing issues. It's like only 2,000. Especially early, I never have to worry about regen. It helps in a team fight, and it helps me push. Like I found it on Dota buff as one of the builds, and I just love that item.
Well, the thing is,
it keeps me on the map. It keeps me moving and fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Urn should be doing that good enough, and if you, Night Stalker's not one of those heroes where you'll, like, accidentally just run out of mana. Like, it takes you about, like, a minute and a half of spamming your spells off cooldown to run out of mana from full.
I wouldn't watch this game. This game was a shit show.
Okay.
Maybe we could just do a loss, because I changed my build order in that one, because let's do a loss of where it was actually my build order, because there was too many things going on in that game, and I didn't know how to solve it. So so this is okay. See what the thing? Okay, this is not a typical build order for me.
Right.
This one I had to do eggs in this one. I've been doing Necronomicon, and it's actually been really useful. But this one I had to get eggs because I thought I would get Tinker. Vision.
Yeah, it's good for all 3 of these guys.
Yeah. I thought it would be good, but I can't remember this exact game. But I remember.
Well, it looks like they have a ton of cores, so the game's going to be kind of dumb anyways.
It was all cores, and then they tri-lane me. Like, you watch the game, because what happened is me and Omni were off lane, and then we got tri-lanes, and then the So basically, I couldn't farm for one. Because anytime I would go up to the creep wave, Lena would be hitting me or Drow would be hitting me. And then my Omni was like kind of more in the way than anything. And then once AM got fed enough, he doesn't have a lot of kills or stats, but he just farmed farmed up the whole map and was like really impressive.
With that, my one question would be, why did you stay in that lane?
I couldn't. You know what? One of the things is I felt like I couldn't leave it because Omni wasn't doing anything. You'll see it. Like I was doing all the last.
It sounds like with you there, you also weren't doing anything.
Yeah, I wasn't doing very much. You got this one. I know you're choosing losses to show how bad I am, but some games are just real shit shows.
Yeah. But like it doesn't take too long to like even if everyone else is doing stupid shit, I'm sure I'll be able to find some stupid shit that you did this game. Like I can tell right now that you shouldn't have stayed bottom or whatever. You shouldn't have your build's also like Night Stalker's a roamer. He can offlane, but the way that I play him is roaming. What was that?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying I got boots first. Now this is my build because I always can steal the room without getting penalized and have the tangos actually sent to me right away. It's actually really awesome. Like I've never been punished for this. Maybe in this one did I not get it? I can't remember. But sometimes we get a kill. But most of the time I'm at least able to have like 150 gold by the time I even get into lane.
Yeah, so have you been playing him as a laner the whole time?
I've been playing him lane till night, and then I roam.
That works sometimes, but that shouldn't be the default. You can get a lot more done in a lot of games if you don't go bottom, and just kind of do other shit. Of course, you're not really strong at level 1, especially during the daytime. At least not with your spells, but look at your fucking stats. 63 damage and 6 armor, and you start with 660 health. If we compare you to, like, a Faceless Void, which is, like, he's pretty fucking tanky. You have the same health, twice the armor, 4 more damage. Compare it to an AM, you have 3 more armor, you have... Like, he has all this extra shit. Basically, you're pretty fucking tanky. I'd probably say Night Stalker's one of the top, 10 tankiest heroes in the game at level 1. Just because of his stats. So, when you go Boots, Tango's Clarity, what you can do is just, block mid. Wait out here, make sure that they're not going aggressive at, 10 seconds, and then from there, you can run mid. Block mid, and then the creep wave will meet right here, and then what you can do from there is run around this way, and then body out the enemy mid laner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then
I would assume the mid laner and our low MMR will be like, get the fuck out of my lane, you're soaking me. You know what I mean? So, I feel you. I feel you on that one.
Well, it's just kind of as long as you understand that that's better, you can just fucking, who cares? If that makes him run down mid because you bodied out the enemy mid laner for one wave, it's I mean, you shouldn't just not be making correct plays because you think the rest of your team's gonna feed because of it.
No, they'll just be
I'm telling you right now, if you can body out the mid laner, try to stay out of experience range. Don't be standing right here the whole time. Just run around here, body him out, make him run to the tower, and then if you can keep him at the tower, do that for a little bit. Your mid gets all of the experience, or at least half of the experience, all the last hits. This guy gets no last hits, no experience. You get a little bit of experience. It's doing that can just win the game by itself. I'd say if you can body out the mid laner, if you can block the wave, get it right here, your mid gets all the last hits from the first wave. This guy gets none. He probably gets half the experience, or none, if any, or half, if any, probably none. You usually mid laners, I don't know about your level, but at higher levels they only have shared tangos, which means that there's 60-second cooldown. So if you do that when they only have shared tangos, they can only regen what is it? I think it's between base regen and tango regen. They can probably get around 200, 250 health per minute. And if you can just nuke them and right-click them a few times, drop them down like 400 health by running them down, then he has to spend the next minute regenning up. And you just, not only did you make him use his tango, you body him off the first wave, you made sure your mid gets the first wave, he gets no experience, you get a little bit of experience, your mid should get a decent amount of experience. It's just kind of like, that's so fucking huge if you can do that. Let alone if you just like get a kill, then you basically, if you can just body him out and do what I said, I'm sure that one play will make you, with everything else, like let's say the game's perfectly 50-50, and then you make that one play, I'm sure that would make the game 55% chance that you win it if you just do that every game that you can. And this is just kind of like, this isn't a tactic you always want to do, it's just something to keep in your arsenal. Okay. Like, let's say they have an OD or a Razor or something that you just, if you try and do it, you're just not really going to do anything.
Yeah, it's usually the main three in the mini meta, which is like the meta of like super lobies.
Yeah.
Is sniper like maybe 35-40% of the time. And then OD some of the time, but also a high chance of it being either a PA or not a Blitzseeker, or what's that really bad spellcaster? Invoker. Or it's an Invoker.
The only hero that's
like basically the hero pool completely for mid.
Yeah, and it works on all of them except for the OD, but what you can do is usually the OD will imprison your mid or imprison a creep to guarantee the last hit. You can just wait until he casts it, and then it's like, I think 18-second or 20-second cooldown at level 1, so it's just kind of like, you see it, then you go in, and yeah, it's 22 seconds at level 1. So if you see him use it, you can go in. It's the same with like, typically I would say don't try and gank a puck, don't try and gank a quap, don't try and gank like shit that has a very good escape, like a Mirana that has her leap. Sometimes they start with arrow. But what you can do is, if you see them use that ability, then the only thing that's stopping you from ganking them is on cooldown. So it's like, I have a lot of kills on enemy pucks mid because they'll use their orb to farm, and I'll just be sitting here because I have nowhere else to be. Like we just killed their offlaner, I'll come around, sit here while the offlaner's showing himself again, and then there's like a 20% chance I'll get a kill because the puck might just like orb to farm. And then I'm like, alright, the only real defense he has is down, I'm gonna go fucking kill him. But yeah, so you see how doing something like this, it'll take you probably 40 seconds. The game will go in 40 seconds. But you'll have more impact than you will sitting down bottom for 4 minutes for the first 4 minutes of the game. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to add it to it. Like I've been finding this really successful though. This whole this whole build with like the boots first. Now you told me because I was like getting Venom Orb first. And you're like, oh, you know it's better if you can actually run and hit somebody than just having it and not hitting anyone because you can't catch up to them. So I found the boots, for me, the most frustrating thing I found with Night Stalker is like his movement rate is just so bad. But being able to I've gotten out of lots of situations. Even this, I think I look like I'm going down, but I was fine. Now, I didn't know at this point that we were being tri-laned. And the tri-lane was really, really effective.
Well, the thing is, right here, you have no business getting this last hit. Like, they have 3 people right here, and you're just gonna, like, stick around. Like, maybe if it was in last hits range when you... Like, you get this last hit, and then that last hit, and then leave. But here, you have to sit around and wait for that last hit to go in range. So you take... how much damage do you take?
I took like half health. Took a lot of damage.
You took around 300, 400 damage before the Omni heal for one last hit, which if you convert that to the value of a salve or a tango, it's just not worth it.
Okay.
And you also shouldn't be really getting Quelling Blade. I don't like the Stealth Shield either. But my thing with it... Go ahead.
What? Quelling? Okay, this is my thought on the Quelling. Is that if I get 4 more last hits at all before I have to take it out of my inventory, it was like crazy worth it. Cause
yeah, it's really good if you're laning, and you only have to get 2 last hits with it because you sell it for 100 gold, so you only have to make 100 gold with it.
Okay.
And then another thing with it is, if you think about creeps as a, what is that fucking sand timer thing? Hourglass? Yeah. If you think about creeps as hourglasses, where, let's say there's 100 grains of sand in it, and you can last hit it with 50 grains in it. The Quelling Blade lets you get it with 60 grains in it, so there's a 10 grain window where you can take advantage of that, and let's say something's happening with the creep wave that the enemy team's distracted, you can swoop in at the 60-second or the 60 grain mark, but if you have to wait for the 50 grain mark, then maybe they're back into position to harass you. So Quelling Blade is a really good item. It's just, I think I'm looking at Night Stalker as a roamer, and you're looking at him as a laner until 4 minutes, and it's just kind of like...
I was able to leave the lane because we were just being pressured so hard.
Well, this game, like, if you did the strategy that I talked about, you could have bodied out the Tinker really hard. Like, if you have Tango's Clarity...
Like, do you ever see, like, a Wraith King mid? Like, does that make any sense to you at all versus Tinker?
Not really, but it still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who your mid is, you can still body out this guy. He's... Let's look at his level
just from your perspective, like, isn't that just bad in general?
Yeah, it's
bad. Like crazy, or it's like
bad.
how do you win against somebody who like knows what they're doing with a tanker, and then this guy's just sitting here?
Well, it's kind of another thing to look at is, so what do you think their win condition is for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes? Like, not to win the game, but to win the first 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Basically, it's to get AM. AM got all the farm in the bot. So my main thing was that they were just trying to destroy, like, really own safe lane, and not. I think that they were just letting the. They were like, whatever, the CK can just farm, but then the faceless. We'll just get him up to a few levels, and then once he gets 6, he's fine.
The way that I see it is that they have 5 cores.
Yeah.
So the AM is gonna get what he's gonna get. Like you can't do anything to the AM, because they're tri-laning it, and you have 2 melee heroes, and they have 2 ranged heroes.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like so hard to stay alive.
Yeah, so you can't do anything to AM. And then I look at, what is Tinker really good at?
Owning fucking lane and like punishing you for like if he just blows out all of his spells.
I mean, in the game overall, like mid and late game.
Oh, just pushing.
Yeah.
Basically, everything is push. You got AM pushing.
He pushes and he de-pushes. Tinker
What?
is really good at pushing and de-pushing.
Yeah, and so does Lena. Lena's a good deep pusher.
Kinda, yeah. But
And
the
then,
thing with Tinker is when he gets his bots and when he gets his blink dagger, he can delay the game tremendously from that point.
and they have like such a crazy late game. All we have
Yeah.
is like CK and maybe WK, but
Yeah.
as like our late game. But my
Yeah, so-
like Night Stalker is not late game. Night Stalker, like if you're ahead and your itemized as fuck, he can like compete, but he can't compete at all against a late game AM or Drow or Tinker. He can kind of like fuck with Tinker maybe a little bit, but that's about it.
You're never going to be able to compete with an AM as any position forward, so that's not what you should be really looking at to see if you're good at late game. I think Night Stalker is amazing late game because you can get an Ags and you can get a gem, and then the enemy team's never going to have wards anymore. And if you can just, I don't know how much it matters in your bracket, it's just, overall he's really good late game because you have, when is it ever going to be, there's never going to be a game where having an 8-second silence and 50% mischance is bad. And then the rest of his kit, he just kind of like beefs up, and he's pretty good, and he can fly and mini stuns and all that.
Oh, I love you sold me on Night Stalker. Like, I love this boy. He goes out,
he's really good.
He gets up in people's faces, and then if you get weirded out, you fly away. Like,
Yeah.
what's more like Batman than that? What do you mean?
Yeah. Bat Stalker. But yeah, so I wouldn't say Night Stalker's bad in the late game at all. It's just
I just find if he gets a little behind, he doesn't have a strong team fight unless you have like really strong like yoked cores behind you of where you can soak some damage, and then if you're fast about it, you can kind of run off, heal up a little bit, and then run back in the fight.
yeah, how Night Stalker works is if you're really far ahead, your kit is the exact same, but you can right click, and if you're really far behind, your kit is the exact same, but you can't right click. So that's the main difference between being ahead or behind on Night Stalker, and then of course having items and shit too. And your right click's just like kind of naturally good because you have 1,000,000 attack speed from this, and you have phase boots and all that, so you can right click really hard. And then if you're competing against somebody that has a 50% mischance, it's still you could probably go against a Void or an AM if you silence them, and they don't Manta it off in the late game, depending on their items, of course. But yeah, so this game, the correct thing for you to do is hope for the best for your Omni Knight, and then go zone out the Tinker, and get. Go ahead.
The Omni Knight in this case went hard carry, no hard support. So he hasn't been last hitting, and we're getting like dominated there. So I think like we both died a bit. Like I think everyone kind of fed a little bit when we got out of position. We never got. The cool thing is like Lena sucks, so she never like got a stun off. So we didn't get completely destroyed. And between like me healing and the Omni healing, we like didn't get completely we didn't get nothing out of the lane. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, you're just by you being there, you're not really doubling what you're getting out of the lane. Like the experience is the exact same. The AM's farm is about exactly the same. And you might get a few last hits, but you're already committing 200 of your early gold to be getting those last hits, and then those last hits are ineffective. Like you take 400 damage for one last hit, and that pays for your salve to or pays for half of your salve to heal yourself back up to go get another one last hit. So it's just kind of like if you weren't here, the lane would look about exactly the same, except for the Omni Knight would probably get like one or two more last hits. Like he'd be going for these instead of you, and it's not like there's something special to you that's going to make you get these last hits better than he is. Like, you could probably just heal bomb this creep. If you weren't here, you would have more mana and get these. So it's just kind of like, you don't do anything here except for allocate the gold to you instead of the Omni Knight. You're not stopping the AM, and you're really not, you're not generating experience, you're just splitting it with this guy. But if you went mid with an Orb of Venom and zoned out this Tinker, you would be a position 4 that's making their position 2 get nothing. Whereas down here, you're just a position 4 that's, or position 3 that's getting a few last hits. So you would have accomplished much more going mid here. And then, like, this guy can't really lane against a Tinker, but if a Tinker's all the way back here, he can lane. So you're going to be generating more gold, more last hits on your team by going mid, and then you're going to be denying the Tinker a bunch of farm, whereas bottom you're doing nothing. So it's just kind of like, you'd probably do 6 or 7 times as much if you went mid this game to start rather than bottom.
This whole game felt bad. Like, this was a feels bad game.
Gotcha.
like, literally, like, it was like, okay, just burning through heals. I think I greedily tried to, no, I think I backed to self, but I had, like, no, I got myself canceled there by the Lina. Like, even there, like, I don't, they must have been warded up on the cliff. Are they warded there? I didn't de-ward because because, like, she, like, broke myself somehow, like, even knowing when I was, like, behind my tower. It was really, at that point, I think I tilted a little bit because of that self hit that she shouldn't have got. You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. And, what?
I got you. I understand. And it's, if we watch her perspective.
Yeah, like, watch her, like, I'm back here selving, and she, look at this, she throws a dragon on me behind the trees, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, how do you get that if you weren't...
You're next to the creep wave, she has complete vision of you, what's stopping her from doing that?
Oh, okay, I just didn't know that she, like, saw me selve exactly when I said, you know what I mean? Like, it was like one of those things of where I thought I was safe back here, but somehow, I guess she just was continuing.
Yeah, I think part of it is understanding that there's nothing stopping her from, like, standing right here if she doesn't do any weird actions. Like, just because she's under your tower doesn't mean she's going to get attacked by your tower. And that's, like, that's one of the first things that you have to realize with, like, laning and all that. Just because she's under your tower doesn't mean that she's, like, you're safe, or if you take any damage from her, the tower's going to go on you. Like, she could be standing over here. She could be anywhere except for, like, over here, and she wouldn't be getting hit by the tower. So there's no, like, magic force field. Like, she could have hit you the second you popped it because this has a long-ass range. So, like, it's just, if you watch her perspective...
I just got annoyed by that real good.
Yeah.
Right,
it's just kind of like, you had no business salving there. You had to walk back more because she has a long range. And I think
I just didn't think that she would, like, be... I just thought, like, being kind of tucked behind my tower, I was safe, but definitely learned my lesson there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's all that matters. As long as you learn the lesson, that's it. But, yeah, so...
Get behind some trees.
Yeah.
Hug a tree, solve it up.
It's a lot of just knowing the range of the enemies. And she has one of the longer range. Like, if the Drow was in that position, you could have salved, but because it's a Lina, you can't. But, yeah, I think we're focusing on a lot of stuff that's not... The main thing of this game is you didn't go mid. And I want to know if you understand why you should have went mid, and how you would have identified that this game. Do you feel like you know why it was good to go mid, and how you could have identified that?
I'm gonna give it a try literally tonight.
Okay.
I'm excited to, like, see what that is. I don't know if I'm gonna get the best reaction from teammates because I don't think they'll know what I'm doing. It's like when in low MMRs you're support and you split pull, and so then your carry's like, what the fuck? where are my creeps? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm getting, you know, and you're like, dude, I'm
Yeah.
split pulling, and he's like, what the hell, dude? I can't lane without the lane creeps. You know what I mean? And you're like, dude, are you serious?
Just
Like,
ignore them. It's they
okay.
don't know, and it doesn't matter if they. And then here, it's just kind of like, it's nighttime. It's been an entire minute. You're still mid.
No,
And
no,
you
I didn't
you're
leave lane because I just got so caught up with the dance of the lane that I just stayed. And
I got you, but that's
up,
like that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it. Like I've had games like that, but it's just kind of like that. The better you get, the more you're gonna recognize that what you're doing is a waste of time. And then also going for a second point in this doesn't do anything really.
I've been doing that only if I have like, because I was laning against the AM. I was like, okay, he's been right clicking me. I have no mana, so what would be better, like having at least something from my something like a little bit of help than like nothing. Like I'm like I have no if I have no mana, what's the point in having another point in my void? Do you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
was the
I get what
logic.
you're saying. It's just there's a logic to it. It's just you need to understand the counter logic. Like it's better to have a point in this than to not have any points in anything. But it's kind of like, or you could just go back, get mana, and then have 2 points in this and go kill Tinker. Like this is only better in the situation where you don't have mana. And when you don't have mana, you need to fix that because it's nighttime and you got to go do some shit. And if you have 2 points in this, that means that by level 7, you're either going to not have a point in your Void, your Crippling Fear, or your ult. Because at level 7, you'll have you'll be able to max this and get your ult, but you won't be able to have this. So when your level 3 just kind of like does that, and I don't know how to word it differently, but it's kind of like basically until level 8 you only have 2 points that are free because you want your ult and you want your Q. So you have 2 points to spend between these two until level 8. And right now you're choosing that you would rather have 5% more movement speed and 20 more attack speed. You're not using the attack speed at all, and the movement speed is super meh. It's making you go from 120% to 125%, which is like a 4% increase. So you're kind of screwing yourself for the next however long until you get level 8. Probably the next 10 minutes just to have an extra, like 5-10 movement speed for a few more seconds. Does all that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I understand. One of the things is like I feel like you're not really seeing how I play the game. Like I would love for you to see like me roaming at night and doing things like this one was just like a laning shit show, and I felt like the Omni wasn't getting last hits. I don't think I'm getting very many either. I only got 6, which is horrible. But the Omni was super scared, so he was staying super far back. So I felt like he had 0 lane presence. But I guess 0 lane presence is better than. I just felt bad leaving him to
Him
a
just
lane.
getting the experience is as much as he's going to get out of the lane. Like, that's just the matchup. When they have 2 ranged heroes, one with a stun, one with a slow, and then they're protecting their carry, what do you expect your Omni Knight to be doing? He can't run up and get last hits, or he'll just get harassed and die. So he just saps the experience and then gets whatever last hits he can. And then, like, you're at fault for being here. The Omni Knight's doing fine. What you're doing is wrong.
Okay.
And I don't mean to come off like harsh with that. It's just. What was that?
What? Oh, I'm just saying I'm a pretty aggressive player. I think that's like just my style.
Well, I think what's happening here is you're trying to you expect certain things from all of your games. I think it's like, okay, I expect my offlaner to be getting farm and experience and not dying, and then I expect my safe lane will be fine and my mid is going to do whatever it's going to do. But it's kind of like, well, some games you're just going to get fucking tri-laned and you're an Omni Knight, so you shouldn't be getting last hits, and that's just how it is. So it's kind of like, this is a thing that I've talked about before, and there's some videos that I'm probably going to send you, because in those videos I talked about really good things for position 4s, but it's kind of like, there's certain things that need to happen, and then there's certain things that you can do, and then recognizing that those are two different things, and then working from there. Like, what needs to happen is, the AM needs to be shut down, the Tinker needs to be shut down, and the Void needs to be shut down. Would you agree? Like, you don't want any of those three getting ahead, right?
Yeah, I couldn't even get close to the AM to harass him. Like, I couldn't, like, it was like one of those things of where I really felt like I had my face in the mud the whole time. I'm trying, like, I wasn't able to be at all effective here, but I was worried about the Omni Knight. If I left, he would just be like killed and killed and killed and killed. But you're right. I should have left immediately. Went harassed Tinker. I just didn't know where. This is probably my first tri-lane experience as Night Stalker, and I played like 100 games with them. Did you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think this whole dynamic of where they're actually playing a strat that I didn't know how to deal with.
Well, the thing is, you're thinking of Night Stalker as a offlaner.
What?
And you're thinking of Night Stalker as an offlaner when he's a roamer. So you're not getting tri-laned, you're deciding that you're going to spend all of your roaming time bottom getting the last hits from your Omni Knight. And that's how my perspective of it is. And it's just kind of like, one of the best things you can do is imagine how all the lanes are going to go out. Like, you can imagine how a Lina AM Drow Ranger lineup's going to go out against an Omni Knight. Like, the Omni Knight's going to show up, he's going to get slowed and then stunned and then probably killed. So all he's going to do is be able to, like, sap the experience, right? Like, you can see, you can imagine how that lane would go if it was just an Omni Knight versus those three, right? And then if you imagine... Go ahead.
That was what I was worried about, him just getting ganked and ganked and ganked and ganked and ganked. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
we're
then,
still at, like...
There's a second part to that, where you imagine what it's like if you're there. And, it's just kind of like, if you're there, you're not going to stop that from happening. All you're going to do is be another body in a lane that's not going well. And if you're the one going up for the last hits, the same exact shit's going to happen to you. Like, you're not going to stop. No matter what happens with both of you, the Drow's still going to attack one, and then the lane is probably going to stun one, and then they're going to get gone on. Regardless if you're here or not. So it's just kind of like, yeah, the lane looks like shit if it's just Omni Knight, but it looks just as shit if you're also there. It's just both of you are eating shit instead of one of you. Whereas you could be over here eating a fucking Tinker sandwich.
Yeah, I should have been... you know what? I think you're 100% right. I think I just got caught up with being tri-lane. And I know, even for me, like, what I've been doing, I think I've been kind of stuck in the pattern of lane till night, and then go cause some trouble, you know? And then I guess... so I got to break out of those patterns. And I think pattern.
I think we should probably... We should probably do a few more minutes and then call it and make it a 45-minute session, because I think the most important thing here is realizing that you can run around during the day for the first 4 minutes. And when you make that fundamental change, like, understanding that your hero is so strong with his base stats that you can body out most everyone else in the game, except for, like, Clockworks and Ursas and shit like that, just because your stats are so good. And then also realizing that you don't really need farm. So let's say you and the Void both, you guys are fighting each other. He has a few more items, so maybe he's about equal to you or a little bit stronger. But what you can do is you can run at him with your 5 tangos and then your clarity. You can nuke him, attack him a few times, get a good trade in, like attack, nuke, attack, and then you get 2 attacks off and a nuke. He only gets 1 off. And then, like, maybe do some more, whatever. And then you eat some tangos, he eats some tangos. You do it again. you eat some tangos, he eats some tangos, you clarity up, and then you keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. What happens when both of you are stuck at 200 health? You both have to back, but when he backs, he's losing all of the experience from the lane and all of the last hits. When you back, nothing really happens. You don't have a lane that you're supposed to be farming at. You don't have creeps that you're supposed to be farming. So you making him back is enormous, but him making you back doesn't mean like next to anything. It just gives you more time off the map to decide where to go next. And then the same with Tinker, especially when they have shared tangos instead of actual tangos. But if you can do that with the Tinker and then he has to back, you basically just won mid. Like, you see how both of those situations would run out, and do both of those make sense?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. You're saying, like, really drain them. If you're out draining an enemy laner of all the regen, basically, if they have to walk away from their lane, you've won the lane. So
Yeah.
if I can, so get out of the lane. See, the thing is, I totally understand what you're saying, and I'm gonna do it. One of the things is that I found like I'm one of the better, like on my team, I'm one of the best last hitters on the team, just because I'm like, I'm keen, I'm a try hard. I want to swing the momentum in my direction. So I know I would love to like figure out a position. What happens is sometimes is that your team expects you to be a laner as a Night Stalker, to be a core, and not to be a
The thing
5.
that you do with that is, when you start the game, there's a little map.
Mm-hmm.
You just put your face in the enemy jungle, and that indicates that you're a roamer. And then say, I'm roaming, or some shit. And then if they don't pick it up, well, your team's retarded, and you probably lost anyways. So it's just kind of like, and then as a position 4, the only last thing that you should do is, let's say you have a mid puck, and then he decides to go bottom, and it's 9 minutes in the game, so it's daytime, and you're kind of just useless. You can go take his lane while he's gone. So it's kind of that's the most that you're really going to be last hitting, at least in the early game. Maybe if you have to like push out a lane real quick, you'll get some more. But it's just don't get too hung up on feeling like you're better at last hitting than other people. It doesn't matter. And then your sense of feeling like you're superior last hitting basically lost you guys this game, because you stayed bottom, you didn't do anything mid, you didn't do anything top, and then it's nighttime and you still haven't done anything. So all of your last hitting skills lost you the game because you're so stuck on it.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right about that. I definitely in this game, definitely. My games in a whole don't play out like this, but it's really nice to see there's major mistakes going on, that I was just trying to be adaptive to the situation, and it was taking me out of my role.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, even if this isn't how your games usually go, just by you having made this mistake indicates to me that you're not thinking in the correct way. So even if you feel like this is me harping on a bad game, it's just, if you're thinking in the way that I've taught you to think in this lesson, you're never gonna, like, to me this is like starting like Orb of Venom on Crystal Maiden or some shit. It's just, I'm never even gonna think of doing that, because it's just, my thought process is a certain way, and Orb of Venom on Crystal Maiden never enters that. And then with the Night Stalker, it should just be like, I'm never even going to think about just sitting in an off lane that is unwinnable with or without me there. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's just, again, even if this is like a oddity or a game that's not what usually it is, it's, your thought process is wrong if this is even happening at all. So do you have any final questions?
No, that's great. That's great, because this, no, that was great. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and harass some mids.
Yeah, I mean, the tactic of it is super simple. You just sit around here until 20-15 seconds, and then by then they usually give away if they're going to be contesting the bounty run or not. If it looks like somebody's going to do some stupid shit where they like try and run into 3 of you by themselves and you can just kill them, do it. But if that doesn't look like it's happening, or it looks like they're going to contest and they're stronger than you, just back, go block the mid, and then block it to like here or whatever, and then you can wrap around here and then go this way and then run up behind them, attack them, and then when they start running away, void them then, because usually it takes them a few seconds to react, and you don't want to overlap the pseudo stun of them reacting with the slow of this. Does that make sense? And then you just right click them a bunch, and you try to not aggro any creeps. So another important thing to do is, like, if you went right now, it would be good-ish, and then if you went right now, it would be horrible, because when you go on them, these creeps are going to meet you soon, and the best way to figure out where these guys are, just look at where your guys are on the map. And if you aggro these creeps, it's not as bad in the mid. Like this...
I think it's run through the lane.
What was that?
I run through the lane so that the creeps kind of... My creeps aggro them, right? Like I have to run...
If you run through the lane here and go on this Tinker, these creeps are going to aggro onto you. And then you're taking basically...
Don't I run back to my tower so that they aggro onto our creeps?
Well, that just makes it so if you're going on the Tinker here, you have another issue. Like, these guys do like a hero and a half worth of damage. So if you go on them now, the creeps will aggro onto you, and it will basically be a 2.5. Like, the Tinker just had another a teammate and a half show up. So it might not be favorable, or the trade might not be in your favor. Like, let's say you can go on as the Night Stalker and the Wraith King. You guys are stronger than the Tinker, but as a Night Stalker and a Wraith King, you're not stronger than a Tinker and a full creep wave. And that's basically what I'm pointing out. And then also, more so for the off lane and the safe lanes, if these creeps are attacking you, that means that these creeps are running up farther, and then when these creeps aren't attacking, or when these creeps are attacking you, these creeps will be attacking these creeps, pushing the wave under Tinker's tower, which will make him safe. It's not nearly as big of a deal in the mid lane, but if you do that in the safe lane, it can, like, you can lose the game just off of doing that. Because if you do that like level 1, then the creep wave's gonna undoubtedly push into their tower, unless you like fix it or something before happens huge to the creep equilibrium. But if you like aggro these guys, then these are gonna go under the tower. They're doing it anyways, but like let's see if anyone actually does it at the beginning of the game, because it's pretty important to look at, and it's nice to have a example of it rather than just talking about it. And it's a huge mistake. I see it very often. Alright. So usually, like okay, let's say the Lena and the Drow went on you right now. Your creeps would go on them, and then these creeps would meet up here instead of down here. And then also it can do some shit like the range creep might be the one that gets aggroed by your creeps, or some shit like that. And then if the range creep dies early, it will go under... if your range creep dies early, it will go under your tower. If their range creep dies early, it will go under their tower. But if somebody... oftentimes what happens with supports is they let the creep equilibrium settle. Like, the creeps aggro each other. And then they wrap around here and they go on you. And then if they do that at the wrong time, when they do that, like, let's say they did that right now, which, here, they might actually, this will be a good example. Your creeps were pushing, here. your creeps are pushing here. Like, if nothing's happening and your creeps are just attacking their creeps, you're pushing here, right? Because this guy's going to die off soon. And then you're going to have melee and a ranged versus a ranged. And this guy's going to die in like 2 seconds. And then it's going to push under your tower. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then what happens here is they go on you. They pull creep aggro. And now, instead of it going under their tower, now they have 2 ranged creeps. And it's going to be pushing under your tower. So, and now you guys... What was that?
Yeah, it did. It pushed into us, for sure.
Yeah. And now you guys who, if they played it correctly and they just keep the equilibrium right here, and then they trade with you between creep waves, then they can just keep it here forever, and you guys can never go up to the lane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they would just kill. It would show up and they would just kill us and run us off.
Yeah, but now because they fucked up here, they can't zone you out of experience range of this. You're probably also going to get last hits. Whereas before, you had no business getting anything because they can just kill you if the creeps are right here and you cross like this line, and you don't have creeps that are like right behind you, they can just kill you. But now, because they fucked up, you have creeps under your tower almost. So this is what happens when you go on somebody and you aggro a creep wave. Not only do you have all of the extra damage going on you, but you're also pushing the creep wave under the tower. Does all that make sense?
I 100% understand. I'm not a master of creep equilibrium. Like, I don't know how to reset it in the off lane, but I know how to do it in the safe lane.
Yeah,
like, I know how to pull and pull through and like control your equilibrium a little bit, but I really don't know how to like re-equilibrium the off lane.
The best thing that you can do as an off lane, and the most consistent thing that you can do, is here. Let's say 1 sec. Let these meet. So it's pushing into you right now. Or it might be. I don't know for sure. If you attack one of these guys, pull all of these guys aggro onto you, and then you run back so that when the creeps, they only chase you for so long, and then they stop, and then they go back to the creeps. If you do that and then line it up, these two are basically dead. Line it up so that this guy, when he drops aggro off of you, it goes onto the ranged creep. Then this guy will drop to half or lower, and then you can deny him. And that's the best way to have it push into you as an offlaner. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense, because the range does the most damage to the melee guys by a lot, I think.
Yeah, they they do 50% more damage. They have about half the health, and they're missing 2 armor. So they take... these guys have 9% resistance, so these guys take about 10% more damage, and they have around half the health. And they do 50% more damage. So it's just kind of like 2/5 of the creep wave damage is in this guy, but like 1/5 of the health of the tankiness. Or actually it'd be more like it'd be more like 2/13 or something. A little bit less than, or whatever it is. But basically, this guy he's the squishiest and he does the most damage by far. So when you let this guy die, it makes it push into you. So yeah, any other questions?
No, this is great. Feel good.
Okay.
Feeling strong, feeling powerful.
Actually, we have like another 5 or so minutes. I took a good bit explaining that, so it's going to be an hour.
Okay,
so
yeah.
What we can do is look at your builds and talk about that for a while.
Okay, I've been having some fun. Like, I've been playing like a lot of unranked games just to like. I got really into Lycan right now. I really want to learn Clinks because I was watching a video and they were saying that Clinks is really good right now, and it's just really annoying. And people are playing the Clinks against me, and I kind of want to like know how to counter them. But I feel really good with Night Stalker. I don't feel like I have the best win rate at the moment. But I've been having some fun with different types of builds. Sometimes I get really greedy, like, oh man, late game Night Stalker with Heart is so dirty for me because like I'm really good at whipping around now. Like I can get into a fight and disengage really easily, and then heal up for a few seconds, and then running back into the fight has really changed my whole playstyle.
Well, it looks like a lot of what your build is
super greed there.
Yeah, what you're building around is right-clicking as Night Stalker, which like is fine some games. It's usually not. And it doesn't look like you're ever getting Orb of Venom. And the thing with Night Stalker is, he's good with both of them, because the boots. The reason that you want to get boots before the Orb of Venom, most heroes it's either you start with Orb of Venom or you don't get it, usually. But the reason that Night Stalker likes the boots first mainly is he's slow as shit, and you're running around from lane to lane, and you don't really have a way to get on top of people during the day, and the range of your void's pretty low. So it's just kind of like with an Orb of Venom first, you don't really do anything more. But with boots, first you run from a lane to another lane, you can get on top of people, you can get a few more right clicks in because you already have a really nice slow. But you can get Orb of Venom right after that because you get on top of people really easily during the night. So when you get it around nighttime, you have the way to get on top of people, and the slow lasts forever. And Night Stalker. And your slow makes it so Void, how slows work is they stack additively, which means that any slow that's in conjunction with Void is doubled. Because if you go from 100% movement speed to 12% movement speed, you're getting 12% slower. But if you're going from 50% movement speed to 38% movement speed, you're getting 24% slower. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it works really good in conjunction with this, and Night Stalker is very strong right clicks, and you get on top of people even more with phase boots. So Orb of Venom's really good on this guy, and I'd much rather see you get Orb of Venom than Quelling Blade and roam more rather than lane.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those two are important.
Like lane during the day and roam at night, but I'll play roam.
Yeah, I mean it's sometimes you want to lane just because like you can't do anything when you roam, and that's very hard for me to like word in like under an hour. So so I would say try and roam. Like roam for a few games, even if you don't think it's good, because then at least you'll like have a better perspective. Like it's if you shoot too far, then you can reel it back in and then figure it out. But if you don't shoot far enough, then you'll be like baby stepping forward the entire time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just go extreme and then find a comfort zone and learn. Maybe like one of the things is that when I show up to lane, everyone just backs up to the tower, but you're saying, dude, if they're in the tower and they're not last hitting and they're not getting XP, you're doing your job.
Yeah, that's if them being under the tower means that they're not in experience range or last hit range. Like if you zone the Tinker under his tower, but the creep wave's already on his hill, then it's not as effective. So it's more for mid than it is for anything else, but off lane also it applies to. But yeah, if you're a position 4 and your presence makes a position 1, 2, or 3 not be able to get anything, while you're not getting anything, you're winning the game.
That makes 100% sense.
Yeah, because Night Stalker, all you have to have as Night Stalker to be helpful is like boots. Like if it's 50 minutes in the game and you just have like brown boots and you're silencing somebody for 8 seconds and 50% mischance, then you're doing pretty fucking good. And then also if you ult, they have like no vision. Whereas if you think about a Tinker who only has boots at 50 minutes, what the fuck is he gonna do? He's gonna do nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's a super exaggerated, but it's still you can rein that back in, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you can have both you and Tinker have 1,000 less gold at 20 minutes, you would gladly do that.
I can do a whole game with just like phase boots and earn and still feel really effective.
Yeah, exactly. You can have, what is that, like 2,500 gold and be super effective, but a Tinker that only has bots, or even he needs a bottle and so he wouldn't even have bots if he has a bottle. And then a Tinker that has no items except for bots at 20 minutes, as opposed to a Night Stalker with phase and earn at 20 minutes, you're going to be doing more than their position 2 as a position 4.
Yeah. What do I do if somebody else in the team gets earned? Is that when I go into my my own Vlad's build? Because you know what? This is what I think. Okay, this is what you know why I like these like small little changes and these very powerful cheap items is that like for let's say while I'm building Vlad, getting that first 1,100 gold and getting the Morbid Mask completely changes my aggressive level. I can get really, really aggressive. Like I because I'm healing as I'm right clicking, I'm really way more up in people's faces, and I feel comfortable doing that. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of feels like it builds into something. So if you're saying like
the thing with Morbid Mask as a Night Stalker is it's going to provide less health for you than a Ogre Club. Because you're not going to be like the amount that you're actually going to be lifestealing in a team fight.
Or just harassing. I'm just talking about harassing.
Well, even then, if you just use your earn charges effectively, you can like trade fine, and you don't need earn should be solving most of your health and most of your mana problems. And then if you subsidize it with sometimes going to base, sometimes shrining up, shit like that, it's just kind of like you shouldn't need lifesteal if you're playing correctly. And you shouldn't need the Bassi aura if you're using your mana smartly. And also, if you need the mana regen and you're playing smartly, just fly out a Clarity while you're buying something else.
Yeah, I'm really into staying on map and trying never to go back to base.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Vlad's is just a crutch. It's a easy way for you to have health and mana without having to play smart to have your health and mana.
Yeah. So what I've been doing, this is why one of the reason I'm saying that is like, let's say I go into a lane, I'm getting right clicks, I'm getting damaged, I'm being aggressive, I'm like intimidating the other player. Once I get low, I just with my Morbid Mask or whatever, I just go into the jungle, hit a few creeps for like a few more seconds, and then I'm back in lane, being an asshole again.
I don't really find that ever happening, though. In my games, if I'm going to a lane, it's usually a lane that if I show up to it, the guy can't fight back. So I run in, like, who in the game at 10 minutes, or let's say 13 minutes, can fight a Night Stalker with phase boots if you cast Crippling Fear on them?
Oh yeah, you just can't. Oh, you know what? One of the things I haven't been doing? I haven't been using fear enough on not like right-clicky heroes.
Yeah, they can't right-click you anymore, so it's nobody can win a trade against a Night Stalker early game if they have a 50% mischance and they can't cast their spells.
I think that you've kind of narrowed in on my major problem. If I'm just playing against a purely a right-clicker, then I'm really not. I don't care about their spells. Crippling Fear, I don't really prioritize, so I'm very happy that that's going to be a part of my like wombo combo, and just to get the mischance in there.
Yeah, even against like a PA, it's amazing if you can silence her. Like, there's no hero in the game that's just like maybe not even Ursa. Like, there's no hero in the game that can man fight you after you Crippling Fear them, because Ursa's kit is I have an attack speed steroid and I have a scaling right click. But if he can't cast his attack speed, he attacks pretty slow. And if he's missing half of his attacks, who fucking cares what he's doing?
Okay.
And then PA also, if she can't blink away, if she can't slow you, those are huge factors. And then she also can't fucking attack you because you have the same mischance that she has just because you cast Crippling Fear on her. So yeah, I think another thing that this isn't what you should be doing, but it's something that, like training wheels, get Crippling Fear with every single game before, get it at either level 2, 3, or 4. I think
I can do 3. I would love to get it on 3.
Well, the thing is, the Night Stalker's build can vary depending on the game. Like at, I just want to see you have it by level 4 because, like sometimes
I delay it till 7.
What?
You know, sometimes I delay it till 7 if I'm just like, if I can just run someone down and.
Yeah, know? It's easy to like. Hunters in the Night might be better the second that you get it, but 3 minutes later, Crippling Fear is so much better.
Yeah.
So
you just you turn my head around on this Crippling Fear thing.
Yeah,
a lot.
it's so
really
fucking good. You only need 1 point in it for it to be amazing. Like if we look at Hunter in the Night and we look at Crippling Fear, both of them are amazing at level 1 and then get like decently better, right?
Yeah. Like
the 20% movement speed is really what you want, and the 30 attack speed. And then from there, the second point, you only get 4% or 1/4 the attack speed you got from the first point, and then you only get 2/3 the attack speed you got from the first point. And then with Crippling Fear, during the daytime you don't get anything. This one also you don't get anything during the daytime, but every point you only get 1/5 more than you got from the first point. But it's like those first points are fucking amazing. Like, the Crippling Fear is the reason that this guy is first pick worthy. If they pick all those heroes that Pudges and Clockworks and Earth Spirits can't really deal with, like a Puck or a Quap, you just fucking cast this on them and they're dead. Like a Puck or a Quap or a Mirana that's silenced is one of the squishiest things in the game. I would almost compare them to a Crystal Maiden. So
it'll be definitely like a 3. Like if there's like a Weaver or like a Puck, if I see them in lane, like if there once night comes, I get the Crippling Fear and then I run at them.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just kind of like it's so obvious with Weaver in them. That
what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that was my main tactic, but I never thought about the mischance. For some reason, it was just like I didn't realize that about it. That it's not only the thing is this spell really makes you think it's like an anti-spellcaster spell, but it's like an anti-everyone spell.
Nobody wants to. Anyone that doesn't want to cast spells wants to right click, and anyone that wants to right click doesn't want to be fucking 50% mischance. So there's no hero in the game that is fine with getting Crippling Feared. It basically shits on everyone equally. It's just kind of more obvious with some, like Weaver and Puck and all of those. It's just kind of like they just die. And then probably with the mischance, you're used to casting it in the day, and then you only have a 10%, whereas the silence is like the same quality silence. It's just not as long, but the miss quality is less and the duration is less. So that might be what messed you up on the mischance. But yeah, I think we pointed out a ton of very important things, and it took actually a good while. I tried to end it at 45, and we're almost at an hour and 15 now. But I think everything that we covered is very important, and try to get some games in, and then I don't like the Urn. I don't like the Necronomicons. They're kind of...
Yeah, you don't like that. Oh, I gotta say one thing. Man, do I like Necronomicon.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite... Because it just... you know what? One of the things is... If you're... Okay, this is the whole strategy of the Necronomicon. is that no one cares about their lane pushing, right? And I'm like, I'm kind of like way too map aware. Like I'm always looking at the mini map, maybe a little bit too much. But whenever a lane is pushing in, I'm always like, okay, push the lane back, then go to the team fight. But if I hit the Necronomicon, send those dudes to push the lane out, I can go win a team fight, and then I run back to a lane that's already pushed out and take a tower, and I feel like so much farther in the game. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just kind of like, or you could have a Aghanim Scepter and then kill their entire team, and then get a gem, and they don't have any wards, and they can't leave their base, and they can't team fight because they can't hide from you at all. And you can push out the lane with an Ags, and then the creeps will do like some damage to the tower, not nearly as much as a Necronomicon, but then you take a fight, you kill them. The tower is pushed out enough that you guys can show up and take the tower because you won the fight. Like when you use your Necronomicons and then take a fight, you basically don't have Necronomicons. However much gold that you've spent on that item is not influencing the fight at all.
Well, I do use it in fights if I can use the presence. Now, one of the things, this is the other thing. In Necronomicon, it has True Sight, which is one of the things where when I have a gem on me, I'm a little scared. I like before a fight, I hide it in the forest and then take the fight. Like I'm really like, and then you get yelled at if you drop your gem. Like people rage on you because they're like, you just fed the team the gem. It's like my gem, dude. Like, and they lose their mind. Like, no, you fed it. And so with the Necronomicon, when it hits level 3, I have True Sight all the time. So that
is not all the time.
Well, once a minute, I have 30 seconds of True Sight.
Yeah, but you also don't want to be using it just for the True Sight.
Oh yeah, but they're great. I love Necronomicon.
I mean, I understand your point. It's just it's not right because of a lot of different reasons. Like when you have it maxed, it's 5,000 gold for 20 strength, and that's all it does unless you use it in the team fight. And
I do use it in the team fight. Those little jerks really push a team fight because they're like so focused on you. They're not like they don't think about these little nerds that are like burning them down. You know?
Yeah, but it's it's the same exact cost. It's 100 gold off of Ags and a gem. And Ags with a gem is going to Ags will probably help your team fight just as much as having your little shits around. Because it's just kind of like your carries are going to get so strong that if they can see somebody, they're going to do more than your Necronomicons will.
Oh, that's true.
And then also, with Ags and a gem, the enemy team just won't ever have wards. And then when you ult, they're going to have like 800 vision around their hero and see nothing else, while you see them clear as night, I guess, for this hero. So it's just kind of like... I see why you think Necronomicons is like fun and all that, which is fine. It's just kind of like you can push a tower better when the enemy team doesn't have any fucking clue where your team is than you can if you just have a few more shits attacking the tower.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. I've been just having a lot of fun with it. You know what I mean?
If you're having fun with it, it kind of comes down to what are you trying to do with Dota at that point. And if you're having more fun with playing with the Necronomicons than you are winning, then, or like
if I get I've never lost with Necronomicon 3. The thing is, the win rate must be super high, because even Necronomicon 1, I feel like really powerful. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's because I'm in like dumpster land. Necronomicon 1 is good. You know what I mean? Like, it's
part of it is when you have Necronomicons 3, you have 5,000 gold on a hero, which either means that you're ahead or the game's going late. And if the game's going late in a lot of games, you can be like ahead. It's kind of like win rate on Butterfly with a lot of heroes is really high, But it's not that butterfly is an item that you should just go for because it has a higher win rate. It's that in the games that you're already on the path of winning, you'll pick up a butterfly to help you finish it.
Yeah.
So
okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. But you're right. Actually, Gem has a higher win rate than.
Yeah, but that's also
it's been crazy. Like there's like a 90% win rate with Gem, and you're like,
the thing with Gem is if you're losing the game, you're gonna fight not caring about losing the gem when you die, because it's kind of like if you have a gem, how you should play is you value your life a lot more when you hold the gem because you have an 1800 gold swing. So with you losing the 900 gold and them getting the 900 gold item, and then it's also on cooldown for like 10 minutes or whatever. So it's you play very safe with your hero when you have the gem. So it's kind of like that 10% time that you lose with the gem is when somebody like concedes and just sits in as well. Whereas all the other games where you buy gem and lose, you probably used your life not caring about the 800 gold swing, which means that it was like your last ditch effort, and you throw your body at the enemy team hoping that it'll do something, and then you lose the gem. And that's why it has like a 90% win rate, is because the only time that you lose with it is when you like usually teams win when the enemy team is completely dead, which means you don't have a gem, or if they're just sitting in their well, it's split pushing somewhere else in a desperate spot. So gem is also deceiving. But yeah, so any final questions?
No, that's great. Thank you so much for taking all that time. We got glad I got bank some hours, got some more coming. So
Yep.
that's great.
All right.